In Marvel Comics, Legion is the incredibly powerful but often neglected mutant son of Professor Charles Xavier, who basically has as many superpowers that writers want to stick inside his nutty little brain. Over the years, he's helped save the world, but also nearly destroyed it a few times too. Now that the character has his own surreal live-action series, it's time to dig deep into the comic pages and explore the untold truth of Legion. Off the team. Superhero teams are filled with weirdos with superpowers looking for redemption, and they don't get weirder than Marvel's various X-teams. One look and you'll see that they are stocked with animal-themed berserkers with metal bones, a guy named Cyclops who has 2 eyes, and an occasional creep with way too much skin, whose superhero name is also Skin, which is somehow a useful power. Legion has occasionally hung around with the X-Men, and was almost a regular member of X-Factor as well. But that plan fizzled out when writer Peter David put his foot down. Even in a world where readers are meant to accept superpowered characters running around in skin-tight outfits, David felt nobody would be able to accept that a character too unstable to leave a mutant sanctuary island could serve as a superhero. Of course, mental stability isn't exactly a trademark of most superheroes.
I'm Batman.
But Legion was just too much to handle in the early 90s. Of course, unstable superheroes would become a trademark of later Marvel comics. But with every known and unknown superhero power lurking in his brain, why would Legion need a team anyhow? That's like saying Justin Timberlake really needed NSYNC. It's madness! Magneto stole his inheritance. Ask any mad supervillain and they'll tell you that asteroid bases don't come cheap. If you want to go big, you have to threaten world governments, rob a whole lot of banks, or just steal a pile of gold from a traumatized Holocaust survivor. Like in Uncanny X-Men number 161. The reason that arch-frenemies Professor X and Magneto met in the first place is a lady named Gabrielle Haller, who shows up when Magneto is volunteering at an Israeli hospital. Because the woman is abnormally traumatized, they call in noted miracle worker Charles Xavier to help her out. Xavier discovers her terrible past at the hands of Nazis, who only kept her alive because she knew the location of a major stash of gold. Never once to miss an opportunity, Baron Strucker and Hydra attack, intent on finding the gold. And Xavier and Magneto have their first real team-up while trying to rescue Gabrielle. Like anyone on a long road trip, Magneto and the Professor realize that their beliefs don't really mesh, so Magneto ends up liberating Haller's stash of gold. Xavier, meanwhile, ends up getting the girl, which ultimately leads to Legion's birth. Destroy all humans. The Marvel Universe is full of people who can read your thoughts, control your thoughts, and just generally mess with your thoughts on 100 levels. The X-Men alone boast Professor X, Emma Frost, Jean Grey, and Psylocke. This metric ton of mind-powered mutant came into play when the villain Shadow King took control of Legion, and revealed that he was a threat to the entire world. Among his other weird abilities, the Shadow King is able to feed off of negative energy. So, in Uncanny X-Men number 278, he sets plans in motion to hijack Legion's body and, along with the captured mutant Polaris, who also happens to be Magneto's daughter, manages to increase fear and hatred across the entire globe. Shadow King's manipulations revealed some particularly troubling stuff about Legion's power. Basically, he's always just a single thought away from ending life as we know it, and he's possibly the most powerful Omega-level mutant, somewhere in the range of Mr. Fantastic's nerdy kid Franklin and Billy Corgan. The Age of Apocalypse. You know that whole thing about stepping on a butterfly in the past and changing the future in terrible and unexpected ways?
Oh, I wish I hadn't killed that fish.
Apparently, Legion doesn't. During one of his most lucid periods, Legion realized that he was suffering from some pretty heavy abandonment issues. Rather than join a support group for people who have been abandoned by their psychic dads, Legion decided that if Magneto hadn't always been fighting his pop, then he would have made more time for Legion. His solution was simple: kill Magneto. In the pages of X-Men number 41, Legion hopped into the past and tried to kill Magneto, but Xavier ended up sacrificing himself to save Magneto instead. Without the powerful Professor X creating the X-Men to constantly thwart the evil mutant apocalypse, there was no one to stop the villain from taking over America and ushering in the creatively named Age of Apocalypse. As for Legion, he became a living version of the grandfather paradox, as he can no longer be born because of his time-traveling shenanigans, or until another writer wanted to use him again. God Killer. So, Legion can drive every human on Earth insane, and time travel to usher in the literal apocalypse. But topping the list of dangerous things that Legion can do with his powers is probably his ability to kill gods. In New Mutants number 21, the mystical mutant Magik needs to defeat the elder gods who tormented her while she was stuck in limbo, who have just come through a portal and are threatening to destroy Earth. Apparently, Magik learned a lot about Devil's bargains while she was trapped with demons. So she summons Legion, specifically so he can destroy gods, which he does with a single thought. In her words, part of Legion is the god mutant, which is a pretty intense thing to put on a business card. While it's frightening to think of Legion as the face of any kind of divinity, his power to destroy both gods and men is unquestionable. He's been erased. It's an open secret that death has lost any real meaning in comic books, and it's always just a matter of time and action figure sales until writers and editors find some way to bring dead heroes back to life. Like most super people, Legion has died before, multiple times in fact, but what makes him different from other characters is that he's actually been erased from existence. The first time happened during the Age of Apocalypse storyline, which we've already discussed. The next time Legion peaced out, it was by choice. In X-Men Legacy number 24, he looks at the damage he's caused and, worrying that he'd still do a lot more in the future, decides to erase all traces of himself. Despite his ultimate power, remnants of Legion remained behind for whatever writer wants to tangle with them next. He's biblical. One of the more provocative aspects of Legion as a character is that his name is intentionally derived from the Bible, specifically a passage about a man possessed by demons who runs into Jesus, who asks the possessed man his name. His response was quoted, appropriately enough, by a demon dude named Blackheart in Marvel's first Ghost Rider movie.
My name is Legion.
The Bible's Legion is chock full of demons, too strong to be held by chains, and kept in isolation, so Marvel's version isn't too far off. The biblical Legion has a happy ending when Jesus is able to exorcise the demons out of his body and into a herd of 2,000 pigs, who quickly drown themselves, which Peter would probably have some huge problem with. Conversely, it seems that the comic book version of Legion can never be fully cleansed of his personalities, and must suffer with his demons every day. It's possible that his biblical name points to an eventual redemption, but until then, the character will remain trapped in his fascinating personal hell. Bad for Legion, great for fans of surreal comic book television. Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.